Hello, my name's Kirsty and I would like to introduce you to menopause. Just going to give you some basics about what's happening to your body when you start going into perimenopause, and then you can start to think whether this may be you and where you are in your menopause journey. What is actually happening? So we're born with roughly about 1 million eggs, and by the time we're 30, we only have about 10% left. Estrogen and progesterone are produced mainly in your ovaries, and when the eggs are ripened in the ovaries, estrogen increases for the egg to be released. Progesterone also increases so that the lining of the uterus is thickened. If the egg isn't fertilised, then it won't embed into the uterus, and therefore the lining is lost and we have a period. And that's the basis of our cycles. That's the basis of what happens with periods. So estrogen is needed for the ovaries to produce the egg, and progesterone is needed for the lining of the uterus to thicken. When we get to perimenopause, there's not so many eggs left, and therefore the periods become irregular. They may become lighter, less often, or heavier. Sometimes people will bleed for more than their usual bleed. I have heard of people bleeding for several weeks. So it can be really messy for some people. And obviously if it's irregular, then you don't know when you're going to start your bleeding. So that can be unpredictable. So menopause is actually a year after you had your last period. So there's little or no estrogen and little or no progesterone because they don't need to release the egg and they don't need to increase the lining of the womb. No ovulation occurring, therefore you don't have the period. We are postmenopausal nearly half of our lives. If you're anything mid-40s and you live to your mid-80s, then you could have had 40 years as postmenopausal. So the best way to describe what happens to your hormones during this time is fluctuating. They really do go up and down. As you can see from the graph here, you've got estrogen up and down and you've got progesterone. Sometimes there's more estrogen being produced, sometimes more progesterone. The luteinizing hormone helps control the menstrual cycle, and the follicular stimulant hormone FSH triggers growth of the eggs. But both of these are controlled by estrogen. Estrogen is what keeps the eggs being produced on a regular basis and at the right time of each month. So as we go into perimenopause, there isn't enough of the estrogen to turn off and control LH and FSH, so they just keep increasing. And this is why they used to do the blood test, because if you had high LH and FSH, then you were entering into your menopausal time. But now they have found that the hormones fluctuate so much, as you can see from the graph, at least initially anyway, that you really don't know where you are, and that you could get a false reading from a blood test. So as you go into postmenopause with no estrogen and no progesterone, the LH and FSH increase. Why should we talk about menopause? Well, basically 13 million people experience menopause. So it really does affect society as a whole. It impacts on everybody. We have a sister, mother, auntie, friends, colleagues, all around us. Anybody with female hormones, basically, that is going to go through menopause. And that will impact on pretty much everybody in society. As it says here, 80% experience symptoms. 25 of those, 1 in 4, severe symptoms, which are life-changing. And 1 in 4 people will either change their job or leave their work, because they just don't feel that they can continue with that work. It's too much pressure, or it's difficult to do the hours, whatever it might be. But menopause is cited as the reason why they do this. Often we find people are pushed to suicide. There may be conflicts in marriages and divorce and mental health issues. So there really is an impact on everybody. Facts about menopause. So we said earlier the menstrual cycle pauses, it stops, and that is it. After a year you are classed as postmenopausal. Perimenopause is the lead up and the progression from, which can be early mid-30s. You can start to have symptoms, but it's just often not recognised. The average age of menopause is 51, as it says. I think it's probably lower, but they interview people in their 50s and 60s. And I think if they started interviewing people and doing surveys for younger people, they might start to realise the symptoms do start a lot younger. Early menopause is classed before 40 or between 40 and 45. And we have 5% of people that do that. Now, it will continue for many years. Some people can get away with a few years of severe symptoms, but quite often people go on for 10, 15 years. And I've spoken to people in their 70s that have been experiencing symptoms for about 20 years. They aren't as bad. They're not so life-changing and impactful, but they're still having the hot flushes, mood swings and brain fog, things like that. You can start it as young as 15. There's a girl that only had a period for a couple of years and then went into menopause. So here are some symptoms. These are just a few of the 70 recognised. I just thought I'd highlight these few. If you want to go onto the British Menopause Society, there'll be a list there and you can have a little look through. There may be some that surprise you and you didn't realise that dry eyes or nausea or a burning dry mouth was actually a symptom. So have a little look onto the British Menopause Society website. They'll have a list and you can then start pulling together what all your symptoms might be. You may experience one or two, you may experience several, but if you do go to the GP, you're best to mention all of the symptoms so that they can correctly diagnose you and treat you correctly. It really does have a profound impact on people. And when I say people, apologise, that is anybody with female hormones that's experiencing menopause. From self-esteem, tiredness, these are quite often the people I've worked with. Tiredness and fatigue is quite prevalent. They get embarrassed about brain fog, forgetting things at work, missing time dates and things like that they wouldn't have done normally. They would have been on top of their diary and maybe forgetting to take the children somewhere or double booking themselves. So obviously weight gain means that people find that their shape is changing. We tend to gather the weight around our middle a lot more during menopause, and obviously our tone and shape of our body changes, and therefore that can bring in low self-esteem and low confidence. Also, if you're juggling elderly parents, teenagers, grandchildren maybe, as well as working, then this puts extra pressure onto you. So there's lots of reasons why it can really make an impact. So the services I offer, so I've just really touched on things today, but I can go into things a lot more depth with people, but I tend to like to work on a one-to-one basis with somebody and look at their own symptoms and see how we can then improve them, or at least give the person some confidence to go and speak to the GP. So I've got 30 years of working in the health and fitness industry, and more recently specialising in menopause coaching. So I've got 6 of my comprehensive menopause guides that I've written and shared with lots of people. They're on my website for downloading, and hopefully I'll get some videos done to go with them soon. Free informal videos are on my website, regular blogs and menopause topics. Follow me on Facebook as well, because I share information that I find out and updates and the latest information about menopause, exercise, eating, whatever's relevant that's going to help people. I do the one-to-one consultations, and then we do follow-up coaching sessions if it's for you. That could be 1 or 2 sessions, set you on your path, give you some confidence, give you some support, or it can be continued over a longer period of time. That's completely up to you and how you feel we can work together. I also offer personalised one-to-one training, personal training on healthy lifestyle, exercise. And I do group workshops. That could be for a workplace, that could be for small groups, it could be for a community group, a WI, whatever. I've done a variety of those. Okay. Here's the modules that I was saying about. So we look at the lifestyles that impact on women going through peri to post-menopause. So drinking water, eating healthily, stress and metabolism, exercise, and insomnia, which a lot of people have sleep problems, as well as looking at the supplements and the food and the ways that you can help yourself. So that's what I can offer for you. So please, I'm here. Drop me a line, get in touch. It could be just a quick phone call, and we might decide that going to see your GP is the ideal thing for you, or it might be have a session with me. We can look at things in a bit more detail if there's something worrying you, or you're not sure and you just need a little bit of guidance on those symptoms and how you can just reduce them or help yourself. Really, we want you to live your best life, and menopause shouldn't get in the way. You should be able to live it as best as you can. So please get in touch, and I look forward to seeing you. And if you don't, then I wish you all the best in your menopause journey. Take care.